Friedrich Ludwig Jahn Sport Park in East Berlin, full tonight with 30,000 spectators. But the East Germans claim that such is the interest here in this second leg that they could have sold up to 150,000 tickets. It's an atmosphere of crackling uncertainty, with Forest being asked to do more even than they did in Cologne in last season's memorable semi-final, when they had to win that night and did so 1-0. And they know that tonight a 1-0 win would merely force this quarter-final into extra time. The Dynamo team, who won 10-0 on Saturday here, make one change from the team which played at Nottingham. Reinhard Lauk, their midfield player, is injured and named among the substitutes only, so Bernd Brillat plays at number 5. But the man Forest will remember from the first leg is the number 9, Hans-Jürgen Riediger, who scored the goal at Nottingham. Nottingham Forest team showing one change from the League Cup final, with Larry Lloyd returning there at number 5 in place of Ken Burns. Burns now suspended tonight, and the number 8 shirt being worn by Ian Bowyer in preference to Stan Bowles. And Trevor Francis at number 10 starts the match in an attacking position on the right-hand side. Martin O'Neill will be up with Gary Birtles at the kickoff. Nottingham Forest, as the away team in the European Cup, are allowed to wear their normal colours, red shirts and white shorts, and they're playing from right to left in the first half. The East Germans, Dynamo Berlin, in white shirts. And the match starts, the ball played back to Frank Gray and then to John Robertson. And Brian Clough says before the game that Forest are treading a very narrow line here. They've got to score, but at the same time they can't afford to concede one at Peter Shilton's end. Jimmy Gordon and Peter Taylor there on the Forest bench, and Brian Clough just in between them. That's McGovern. Francis battling up front. Here's Robertson, a free kick given. And the goalkeeper for Dynamo, Ruud Verlight, one of the tallest in Europe, 6 feet 7 inches. That's O'Neill for Forest. Here's Birtles. Viv Anderson's made a run down the right. Here's McGovern. That's O'Neill, and away by Troppart to Teletsky. Now McGovern. Francis. That's Nowak going into the tackle. The East Germans were very well organised defensively in the first leg. Troppart moving forward from the back. Teletsky, number 7, the captain. David Needham over there. There's a nice turn though by Netz, and a free kick given. Referee just telling Forest to calm it, but these are anxious moments, because if the Germans score a goal to make it 2-0 on aggregate, the curtain could be closed for Forest. Teletsky is the dead ball expert in this team. And he drove that against the wall. Brought away by Martin O'Neill, up to Birtles. That's Brillat getting back, the player who was only a substitute at Nottingham, wearing number 5 tonight. Treloff, the sweeper for the Berlin side, wearing number 3. A very good kick there by Ruud Verlight, but here's Riediger. Ball ran very well there for Pelkar, the number 10. East Germans yet to mount a serious attack apart from the one free kick, and that was well broken up by Lloyd, who finds Francis. And it was a foul by Pelkar, one number 10 on the other there. So John Robertson starting to move around now for Forest, looking for Birtles. Teletsky. Pelkar. Nowak. Pelkar. Germans moving quite nicely here. That's Teletsky in pursuit. But Shilton wearing tracksuit trousers on a very hard surface. Robertson just got a touch on that. Been playing 13 minutes. The score 0-0, but of course 1-0 on aggregate still to Dynamo Berlin. Teletsky. Little shove in the back it looks as Bertels tried to set something up. McGovern got a touch on it, and Frank Gray made certain. Number 3. Anderson wide of him. Francis down the right, Bertels through the centre. There's Francis. But it's very difficult to turn against these East Germans. They stay so close and their tackles are so incisive. So once more Francis tries. McGovern looking for Anderson. Netz has gone back to mark him and the ball is out. One thing you always find with East European sides, they're very disciplined when it comes to doing marking and covering jobs. That's Ulrich, one of their defenders, to take the throw. That was McGovern on Teletsky. Referee wave play on. Bowyer gets in there with a tackle. Pelkar. Netz. Throw into Nottingham Forest. Bertels. Teletsky in the way. That might put Francis through. It would have done if the covering player Trilov hadn't been there. And Riediger, who prefers to play on the right, now gets his team away with a nice ball to Noack, the fullback. Pelkar is in the middle, being joined by Netz. This is Noack, though. Here's Pelkar. It ran on, and Larry Lloyd played very coolly there. The pass back wasn't on, and he turned well and got Forest out of difficulties. And onto the attack with Frank Gray. Robertson. Got Bertels in the centre. Still John Robertson. He sets it up for Bowyer to shoot, and a deflection on that takes the ball out for a corner to Nottingham Forest. Ian Bowyer's shot with the left foot. He has a good record in European games for goals, this Bowyer. Taken quickly and headed out too. Lloyd and Needham had pushed forward for that, and that might leave them open on the break. Netz offside against Riediger. But that's the sort of thing Forest must guard against. They pushed the 2 centre-backs up for the corner, and when Dynamo Berlin broke, it was 2 players against 2, Riediger being caught offside. Gray takes the kick. Francis looking for Bertels. Oh, there's a chance for McGovern to shoot here. Well, Dynamo will be hoping that they can restrict Forest to that kind of range when it comes to shooting. Just to remind you of European rules, if Forest win 1-0 tonight, there would be extra time. But if they were to win 2-1, Forest, then they would go through on the away goals rule, which only applies, obviously, when aggregate scores are level. For the moment, Berlin lead 1-0 on aggregate. Up goes Pelkar with Needham. O'Neill gets back. Bowyer. Very late challenge on Ian Bowyer there. That's a free kick. Strasser and Teletsky both in quickly, but it was Teletsky who fouled him and also was spoken to by the referee. 15 minutes gone, and in the second leg, no score. Taken by Lloyd. David Needham with the flick on. Francis! Has he got it in? He has! Well, well, well. The goal that Forest needed, wanted and were desperate for, and Francis, the man around whom there's been so much discussion, puts the ball in the net from Needham's flick on. And Forest are level on aggregate, and this tie has opened up again. Nottingham Forest back now full of hope, back in the land of credibility in this European Cup tie. And look at the free kick taken by Larry Lloyd. Watch for David Needham's flick on. And now watch Francis coming in. There he is. That's the man who scored the winning goal in the final last season, and he has restored Forest's European Cup dreams again tonight. It's now 1-1, and we're back exactly where we started before the first leg. All square, and the goal coming after 17 minutes here in East Berlin. Strasser. Pelka. That was Needham. This is O'Neill. Chaletsky. McGovern. Birtles turning. That'll give Forest so much heart now. Drive by Birtles. Oof. You can see the confidence soaring now in the Forest side. Just what they required was a goal when it came when it did, and Birtles almost got another one there. It didn't miss the post by much, did it? That was Chaletsky looking for next, the number 11. Now, is he going to get past Anderson? Anderson held him off. The referee said unfairly. Indirect free kick has been given. It's been a little bit harsh on Anderson, but that's what it is. Chaletsky plays it short, driven by Brillac, and Shilton got down superbly. The linesman may actually have seen an offside there. I don't quite know whether there was a player ahead of the defence. It looked to me as though there was a player offside, but Shilton's save was magnificent and necessary. Low into the near post, and out again by Bowyer. Chaletsky is driving these corners in from that side. And again away by Bowyer. He did some good defending there, the Forest number 8. Here's Birtles. That was a marvellous save by Shilton. So instinctive to get down there by the post and turn the ball out. Otherwise, Forest would have been behind again. The linesman, I think, flagged for offside, but the referee clearly didn't agree or didn't see. Viv Anderson with the throw. Francis slipping slightly. Chaletsky. And the East Germans, nothing like as assured now in defence after being prized open by that Forest attack and goal. There's Francis who scored it. Ulrich is with him. He tries to find Anderson. I think the linesman feels that Anderson fouled there. So the £1 million man in your picture, just out of your picture now, number 10, Trevor Francis, puts Forest back in business. But it's a long way to go yet, and here comes Brillac for the East Germans. It's a fine ball to Chaletsky. That's played for Pelka. And his cross comes off Viv Anderson. Pelka's header, next was in there as well, but it was knocked away by Gray, I think. Free kick given. Francis penalised. Taken quickly, Nowak. Riediger's going down the right. And Frank Gray has started very comfortably at left back, and indeed he was voted Forest's best player by Peter Taylor after the League Cup final, in which Peter Shilton's unfortunate blunder gave the cup to Wolves. But Forest have certainly bounced back from that, if the early indications are sound tonight. Birtles to Robertson. This is John Robertson, but there was a foot-up. Free kick to Dynamo Berlin. Got a good home record this side. They put 4 goals past the Polish champions in the first round and scored a 10 and a 9 in the league this season, but a goal down here to Forest, level on aggregate. This is Propa for them. Robertson. Francis. Free kick this time in his favour. Whistles all round the ground, the familiar response when the away team gets something off the referee. Here's Robertson for Forest. Martin O'Neill, nice turn. Looks for Anderson on the right. And away by Brillat, hurriedly. David Needham. There's Lloyd. Challenged by Pelka. Lloyd's made a very commanding start. Looks for Birtles. He in turn tries to find McGovern and then Anderson. But Forest can now afford to be so much more measured and patient than they could even at the start, because having got the goal back, they put the East Germans exactly back to square one. That's Ulrich in the picture, the left back. Teletsky. Two captains tangling there, Teletsky and McGovern. McGovern, in fact, was penalised. Teletsky's free kick, looking for Strasser. That was Anderson. It was Brillat who came in with the foot rather high on Birtles. Free kick to Forest. Quickly taken, Anderson. Needham. Aimed at Francis, number 10. Takes on Tropar and beats him, and Birtles is in the middle. Oh, that was a fine move by Forest, and could so easily have brought their second from Gary Birtles. Watch Francis here. This is where he played in the European Cup final, on the right. Gets his cross in. Birtles the flick header. Rudverlight the save. Lloyd. So far then, a goal for Francis and two near misses by Gary Birtles, as against one attempt by the Germans. Foul by McGovern, free kick. Teletsky to take it. Hanging a bit for Strasser to come in. That's Ulrich on the far side if he can return it. And he got a corner. Half an hour gone on the night. 1-0 to Forest, on aggregate 1-1. Corner to Dynamo Berlin, to be taken by Teletsky, their captain, from the far side. Riediger came in. That's the man who scored in the first leg. And he wasn't far away with that header either. Teletsky bends the corner long and high, and Riediger comes in with the header, and it drops just over. Shilton scrambling slightly. Here's Frank Bray. Forest moving nicely when they're in possession. They've settled down well. Here's Francis. But there's still a long way to go. That was Noack to Riediger. Oh, he's gone past Larry Lloyd very smoothly. Next is the player in the centre waiting for the ball to be played in. It may be played behind him. It is to Teletsky. Teletsky shot! That was a sweeping move by Dynamo Berlin, and shows that the captain, Teletsky, is the man on the end of so much. Here's Riediger, having slipped Larry Lloyd. He waits for support, plays the ball right across a fine ball, that. Beautifully delivered, and Teletsky's drive wide of the near post. Either side now could score their second and be in front on aggregate. 2-0 would send Forest through tonight. So indeed would 2-1 on the away goals. Riediger. If it stayed like this until 90 minutes, of course, at 1-1, then there would have to be extra time, because the away goals would also be equal. That's Noack. Looked like a suspicion of handball there against Riediger. It's run on to Teletsky. Teletsky's shot coming back off a forest of players, literally, and it's back with now Tropar. Lloyd. McGovern. And a free kick given for dangerous play. It's going to be taken by Needham. On by Francis. Away by Treloff, the tall sweeper at the back. And a throw into Nottingham Forest. Birtles. John McGovern. O'Neill. This is the close football that Forest can be very good at on the edge of the penalty area. Still O'Neill. Francis turning. Oh, he's got another one. No, it hit the bar and it's play on, is it? Or has the referee given the goal? The Germans think it's a case of playing on. The referee has gone back to the centre and Francis's arms raised. And the goal, will it be given? He's looking at his linesman, and a goal has been given, it would appear. The Germans tried to play on, but I'm sure the ball was in the roof of the net. And Francis gets another one. And Forest are now in front. 37 minutes gone, and a tremendous piece of finishing there. Just watch this. The ball played in low. Francis turns. He shoots from the narrowest of angles. It's over the goalkeeper. It crashes against the underside, but it's over the line. May have looked a bit like the 1966 World Cup final, but believe me, that one also counts. And Forest are leading by 2-0 on the night and have gone ahead on aggregate for the first time in the tie. 2 goals scored by the £1 million man, Trevor Francis. After so much comment about him from Brian Clough and Peter Taylor after Saturday. Robertson. It's coming to McGovern. O'Neill. Strasser for Dynamo Berlin, who are now faced, by the way, the East Germans, with having to score twice. If the East Germans scored once and Forest won this second leg 2-1, then Forest would go through on the away goals rule. So the Germans now are in a worse position, really, or as bad a position as Forest were at the start of tonight's match. The Germans have got to score 2 to beat Forest now. That's how strong the holders are looking after scoring twice in this first half. It also rules out the possibility of extra time. Strasser. John McGovern. Teletsky. Ulrich. Frank Gray to John Robertson. McGovern. Larry Lloyd. And Forest, who've defended so well in Europe, pulling players back now and defend is what they've now got to do. Here's Riediger. He's going in to try and play it in, and McGovern broke up the move and broke for Forest, who may well get even more space now because the Germans have got to push people forward. And here's Frank Gray for Forest looking for Birtles on the far side. Running slightly into trouble, but can he find Robertson? Francis is over on the far post. Oh, penalty, is it? It's a penalty. Is it? Yes, the Forest. The trip on John Robertson, and Forest have a penalty. 5 minutes before half-time. And the interesting thing now is that Trevor Francis has walked forward to have a quick discussion, but Robertson is the penalty taker, and I'm sure he'll take it. He missed his last one in a European match in Barcelona in the Super Cup, but he scored unerringly twice past Ray Clements in the League Cup semi-final, and now he could surely put this European tie almost without question beyond doubt. John Robertson. And he seems to have done so. It's 3-0. And Forest here have almost gone into dreamland. Who would have thought that in the first half they would be 3 goals up? 2 for Francis, who's got his arms around the scorer of the third, Robertson, himself brought down and himself the penalty taker. Just see here as he takes it with the right foot, Rudvalite goes to his left, and he goes entirely the wrong way. Lovely kick by Robertson, and Forest lead 3-0 on the night, and that means now that Dynamo Berlin have to score 3 to beat them. Now it's Pelkar. Lloyd is there. He's been a rock in this first half as Larry Lloyd at the back for Forest. And Francis up front has been a live wire. He couldn't quite get through there. Here's Treloff. And the referee blows for half-time. And what a 45 minutes for the European Cup holders, Nottingham Forest. Coming here, a goal behind on aggregate. They've taken the tie now by the scruff of its neck, and they lead by 3-0 on the night, and on aggregate by 3-1. The first two from Trevor Francis in the 16th minute, and then after 35 minutes, some quick and then some incisive finishing in each case. And then John Robertson's penalty after 38 minutes. And unless Forest concede 3 goals in the second half, they're going through to the semi-finals. So it's Dynamo Berlin who start the second half, playing now from right to left. The long ball searching out Riediger on the far side, and apart from that one header of his and Telecki's shot, these East German forwards so well contained by Nottingham Forest defence, doing the marvellous concentrated job that they did in Cologne in last season's semi-final. And at the other end, 3 goals so far. Here's Telecki. Here comes Ulrich. Round O'Neill and turning it in, but that was away by Lloyd. Number 8 there is Ulrich. Bertels. Francis now on a hat-trick, of course, and no Forest player has scored a hat-trick in the European Cup. Here he is on the ball, and Frank Gray making a very good run. Gary Bertels in the centre waiting. John Robertson just behind Gray. There he is. Here's Gray again. Riediger the target for Dynamo Berlin. Just bear in mind, they've got to score 3, the Germans. O'Neill, free kick given. 2 Forest players must now be careful about bookings, because Bertels and Lloyd are both on 1, and nobody wants to miss the semi-final. Here's Ulrich. Making room for the shot, Ulrich. Block was by Needham. Robertson and Nowak. Robertson sticks to the fullback, forces him to play a bad ball which bobbled terribly on this pitch and deceived McGovern. Here's Telecki, and that'll be Shilton's. Very hard surface indeed, hence Shilton's decision to wear the tracksuit bottoms. Also very cold. It's got something to do with it too, I should think. Bowyer. Robertson, who was brought down for the penalty and scored from it. Here's Bertels. Trofar's tackle. Here's Telecki. Looks for Netz, the fine ball. Netz takes on Needham, and he's fouled. And I think that could be a yellow card for David Needham. It is. Well, he hasn't been booked previously in the European Cup, David Needham, so that's his first. It's Lloyd and Bertels who've got to be very careful not to get their second. It's the first yellow card of the match, incidentally. And it gives Telecki the chance to hit a long free kick, which he did, and here he is again. Playing it inside to Riediger. That's Frank Gray's challenge. Riediger goes down, and the referee awards a corner. Good decision. Well, the East Germans are still hopeful, but they've got to get a goal soon if they're going to make anything at all of this. Telecki with the kick. Pelkar jumps nowhere near the ball. Strasser miscues his shot. Oh, and that's a foul by Roberts. It's a penalty. Nowak was fouled by John Robertson, and a penalty has been given. The right back in the attack was brought down. A reverse situation to the first half, and John Robertson, who won that first half penalty, now gives one away. So, a chance for Dynamo Berlin to get back into the match. 5 minutes into the second half. Telecki is the dead ball expert, the captain and number 7. He will take the kick against Shilton. And scores! And the stadium comes to life. And it's remarkable that all but one of the goals scored against Nottingham Forest in away legs in the European Cup have been scored from the penalty spot. And it was from there that Shilton was beaten here by Teletsky, the Dynamo captain, who really drove it. Shilton guessed right and actually was terribly unlucky. Look at that, he wasn't far away, the goalkeeper. Marvellous attempt to stop it, but he couldn't. Francis, McGovern, O'Neill, Anderson. Now Forest's aggregate lead now is 3-2. But don't forget that even if Dynamo get another one and level the aggregate, Forest would still go through on away goals. Dynamo, in fact, need 2 more to beat Forest. Well, if the East Germans were to score again, then this tie would still be very much alive. It's by no means a foregone conclusion, despite the fact that Forest had that fabulous first half. But what they have done is at least relieve the pressure for a few minutes, Nottingham Forest. Interesting to note the contribution of Bowyer in midfield. He was preferred to Stan Bowles by Brian Clough. Gray with the kick. Francis. Teletsky and Bowyer. Throw into Forest. Francis, back to goal again, back to his marker, trying to turn him, which he did so superbly to score the second goal. Now John Robertson with the throw for Forest. Again Francis and Robertson. Twisting run by Robertson. Down to the dead ball line, appeals for a corner, but in fact the referee has given a goal kick. Plus 2 or 3 decisions have gone a little bit in favour of the East Germans, but the referee's been up with play, and he had no doubts at all about either penalty. Ball wasn't out the area there, so Rudberlight told to retake the goal kick. Ian Bowyer jumping well. Birtles plays it back to O'Neill, who looks for Francis on the far side. That slanted ball in. Birtles trying to make something of it and putting the defender under some pressure. Here come Dynamo Berlin once more with number 8 Ulrich. Nicely judged ball that, chipped up to Strasser, but Viv Anderson is penalised, is he? Oh, he is. And I think he's going to get certainly a word from the referee. Anderson didn't seem to be a particularly bad tackle. It was more of a scramble, but he's been spoken to about it. Shilton crowded out there, but oh, it's still loose. And is it in the net? No, it isn't. The goalkeeper seems to have fallen on the ball right on the line. The Germans are appealing it was over the line in the first place. Now, what's the referee going to do? It was a real scramble. Forrest are just sort of trying to sort it all out. I think he must give Shilton a free kick for what happened on the line. He was battered and they're appealing it went over the line there. You can see the German with his arms up, very hopeful. But in fact, Peter Shilton emerged from that scuffle with a free kick and no doubt a very relieved mind. 10 minutes to go. Riediger over on the far side then, as the East Germans strive to do in the last 10 minutes what they have to do, which is to score twice. Bowyer. Free kick given. Bowyer angry with the decision of the referee, but he's kept a very firm hold on this tie, the Frenchman, Alain Delmay. It'll be Teletsky with the kick. Nowak. Teletsky again. Pelkar is in there, and Anderson let it go, and then he blocked the shot, thankfully for Forest. Ulrich's drive it was. Strasser, they're still queuing up in the centre. Teletsky will get a free kick, fouled by McGovern. Forest captain told to cool it. Played short for Ulrich to drive it across. Oof, my word, that was a close thing. The linesman on the far side was flagging anyway, actually, so it probably wasn't as close as it may have looked. Ulrich was the man that made the run down the left, and there was just a touch on it at the near post, which sent it out for a goal kick. Nottingham Forest with 1 foot very, very firmly in the semi-finals. Just got to keep cool now in the closing minutes and not concede another goal. Here's Tiletsky, McGovern. Oh, he gave that away rather. Ulrich this is. Bowyer with the challenge. That wasn't a very telling tackle either, but finally it was Gray. And here's McGovern. Francis, all the way back. That's turned back by Tropar for Dynamo Berlin. Question now merely of playing out time as far as Forest are concerned and not making mistakes. But then that's been the case since half-time, really. McGovern. Tropar. Ulrich. Netz. Nice, smart turn by him, but McGovern got that goal side, and so did Martin O'Neill. And the free kick can't be taken from there. The foul wasn't from there. What's the referee going to do? Must bring it back. Tiletsky takes. Nowak gets a touch on it. Net! Oh, he's missed it. Well, the German players flopped to their knees then. They saw their last chance go of staging a dramatic recovery because number 11, Wolf Rudiger Netz, had a clear shooting chance here. On the volleys, that's true, but he had a sight of Shilton's goal and he put the ball inches past Forest's far post, and Netz will regret that miss. And the referee has blown and Nottingham Forest are there in the semi-final. A performance which, bearing in mind how things stood before tonight, was against the odds. They were a goal down, but 3 first-half goals did the trick for Forest. As you can see from the caption, Tiletsky got one back for Dynamo in the second half and gave the second half an added edge, in fact, with the Germans coming forward. But Forest's organisation then took over, their flair having got them the first half lead. And once again, Brian Clough and Peter Taylor have pulled off what looked so unlikely. And their team, after the disappointment of Saturday's defeat at Wembley, performed magnificently here in East Berlin tonight. Nottingham Forest, the holders of the European Cup, through to the semi-finals on an aggregate of 3-2.
But of course it went exactly the way that Brian Clough said it would. I wonder if he really did feel that Forest could pull it off tonight. Here he is now talking after the match with John Motson.
How confident were you, Brian, before the match started?
Well, John, reasonably confident, but not as confident to the fact that we'd get 3 goals in whatever it was, the first 30 minutes. But what a superb performance.
What about Trevor Francis?
Well, his 2 goals were good goals, obviously. Any goals are good goals. But he got the all-important one. That was the first one.
Were you surprised at how many chances you made in the first half?
Not having got the first one, because we've been creating chances now for weeks, obviously not putting one in. But once having got the first one, they then just rolled and we put 2 more in.
Were you worried at all in the second half when they got one back fairly quickly?
Not really, John, no. I think the game was over at half-time. It was a bad goal for us to concede so early, but I don't want to talk about them too much, John, because we've had a superb night after you've written us all off again. I'm not saying you have, John, but did you?
Well, I was never actually asked about it, but after Cologne, could anybody write you off?
Well, I hope not, no. We've had a magnificent night in a frozen East Germany. We've played superbly well. The hospitality we've had here is out of this world. We're in the semi-finals, and after Saturday's disappointing effort in the League Cup final, it was a good comeback by Nottingham Forest again. John, with your permission, send Mrs. Barrett, Colin's wife, our best wishes, because she had a baby while we were over here, and wish our Nigel happy birthday. It's his birthday today. Fantastic result for Ron Greenwood. because obviously any result by an English club anywhere in the world has got to be good for our chances in 82 in Spain.
What about personal performances tonight, Brian? Anybody you could single out individually?
When we were under pressure second half, John McGovern literally came into his own. He ran the show for 20 minutes, but the whole back four played remarkably well. And considering we scored 3 goals, that might seem a contradiction, but it's not. We had to keep what we thought was a clean sheet, which we did for 50 minutes.
People have always said that you and Peter have got this ability to motivate players mentally when it really matters. How much did that really come into it, the psyching up for this game?
I don't think it came into it very much at all, John. I think they were already prepared, having lost at Wembley.
What do you think this result will do now for the club? Because people were saying if you went out of the European Cup, Forest would be at the crossroads and everything, but now it's all optimism again, presumably.
Well, only silly people were saying we were at the crossroads if we went out of the European Cup. We preferred to think we were going to keep in, which we said so before the match. Not many of us said it, John, as we spoke about earlier on. But we're in it, we've done well. We're glad that you were here to cover it. Come for the semi-final.
Well, we hope so.